Spring has sprung, actually, is the theme. And it goes back to an old, rather worn out poem that I heard and originally heard it in a Brooklyn accent. So if I slip into that, pardon me, which goes, spring has sprung, the grass has riz. I wonder where the flower is. The bird is on the wing. How absurd. I always thought the wing was on the bird. That is kind of how I'm hoping to see the weather turn over the next week or two, is to have springing up, flowers showing up, grass growing. And it's spring here in Canada anyway. But I don't know, does anybody recognize the building that is behind me in my background here? No one? This is the headquarters of Toastmasters International in Colorado. So it's kind of a new thing for them, only 2 or 3 years old, that they've been in 2 or 3 years since they've been there. But I just thought, I saw that picture and I thought, I'm going to share that with the group. But you can see the trees are in full green there in that picture. I think it was probably taken in the summer. But that's how I hope to see the outdoors very soon. And with the way the last 2 years has gone, spring is going to be especially welcome this year. And so I'm hoping that all of you are in a springtime mood for today. And we'll get our meeting started with a toast from our toaster today. Peggy, can you go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Spring has got to be one of my favorite times of year. I think spring and fall, because it's not too cold, not too warm. It's just somewhere in the middle there, just right. So today, as I'm sitting out looking at the CN Tower out of my living room window and watching the trees, it's really nice to see some things sprouting up through the ground now. And I'm really looking forward as well to have some greenery and growth and herbs on my balcony very soon. The sun is shining. So I would like everybody, if they have a glass in front of them, whether it's a glass of water, juice, cup of coffee, cup of tea, to raise their glass and toast with new beginnings, both in our own lives and in the greenery out there that we see every day when we go for a walk in the spring. So to new beginnings and new growth.
To new beginnings and new growth.
And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
You're on mute, bud.
Thanks, Brent. And next, I want to introduce our timer to introduce the role of the timer to the group.
It's Mary Lou.
Yes.
Just one thing, Brent, Fursey's having a problem getting into the system. He needs a link. Sorry.
This is Ray. Bram just sent the link.
Okay, perfect. So as timer, I will do the timing for table topics, the formal speeches and evaluations, and I will alert each speaker to the time that they have. I will remain black, and at green at their start of their time, I will give them green. So for example, the table topics, which will be 1 to 2 minutes, I will assume. 1 minute will be green, yellow will be at 1.5 minutes, and it will be red at 2 minutes. Please, when it goes yellow, try and wrap your speech, and at red, please make it finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just looking to see if Peggy's been able to make it yet. Or not Peggy, Sharon. Don't see her. Okay. In that case, I'm going to move right into the leadership speak.
Did you know that, Bud, was there a word of the day that you'd be able to introduce, though? Was that already?
She said that she had shared it, and since I may or may not be able to use it in my speech, I'm just going to go ahead and do the leadership speech or presentation. And then by the time that's done, we'll all be in a position to hear the word of the day. So we're just going to have to work with that, Brent. This is not my best effort as Toastmaster because everything fell apart at the last minute yesterday. And some of it fell apart this morning. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to introduce myself as leadership speak today. And the reason I'm going to do this speech today is it's twofold. First of all, my speech is from the Engaging Humor Path, level 5. It is preparing to speak professionally, which is why it's such a long speech, 18 to 22 minutes. The leader, or the title of my speech, Leaders Lead Themselves. Leaders lead themselves, Bud Brown. I am a self-directed leader. Who am I kidding? Not you, certainly. I'm currently in the final level of completing the path called Engaging Humor, except I'm not funny. I mean, I'm not even remotely funny. Let me share with you how not funny I am. My kids don't even laugh at me. And tell me, those of you who have kids, whose kids don't laugh uproariously at them? I'm not funny. I'm so not funny that when there's a funny smell in our house, I don't get it. Of course, that could be to do with my nose. I have a terrible sense of smell, or I smell terribly. One of those, maybe both. In any case, if I was going to kid about something, I probably would not get the joke. So when I say I am a self-directed leader, I can't be kidding. I must be serious. Now, the website Positive Psychology says that self-leadership is the practice of understanding who you are, identifying your desired experiences, and intentionally guiding yourself toward them. So when Brian Pattison and Bram Memony say that our club has an objective of being self-directed leaders, what do they mean? Well, Bram told me that it means taking the initiative, making a commitment to follow through, walk the talk, set goals, be part of a team, connect with others, collaborate. Great. But what does all that mean? Let's take a look at just 3 of these qualities. Taking the initiative sounds so simple, doesn't it? Former First Lady of the United States, Hillary Clinton, said, just do it. Just do what? Exactly. Well, let's go back to positive psychology's definition. First, you'd need to identify your desired outcomes or experiences. In the case of Hillary Clinton's advice, that would be quitting the use of drugs. In my case, it was something even tougher. I wanted to get up in front of crowds of people and speak confidently and be accepted as an expert in, well, something. I spent 20 years teaching leadership skills in corporate North America. And by the end of that time, I knew that I knew more about leadership than 95% of the people I was teaching. I just didn't know how to impart that knowledge to any of them. And it was at that point that I remembered hearing a motivational speaker named Doug Hooper talk about Toastmasters. He said, I did join Toastmasters and I highly recommend it to you. And he was a pretty good speaker. So I thought, okay, maybe I could learn a thing or two about how to communicate from these Toastmasters. You see, it wasn't that I knew what to do or say. It was that this guy, Hooper, impressed me. And if he could learn from Toastmasters, well, maybe I could too. So I took the initiative and I joined the Toastmasters Club. And I can see, obviously, that you did too. But taking the initiative is a key to self-directed leadership. Let's take a look at another key, the commitment to follow through. And when I first joined Toastmasters, they gave me a manual so that when I finished it, they told me I was competent. Competent. What is that? The best of the worst of the best, the cream of the crop? I didn't think that was good enough. So I got other manuals, and soon they told me I was advanced. Well, bronze, that is like third place at the Olympics. So I got more manuals, and then they told me I was silver. Okay, second place. Second's pretty good, but it's still not the best. And then I finally got my gold, and I realized that I was within hitting distance of getting a distinguished Toastmaster award. You know, the creme de la creme of Toastmasters. So I worked at it, and I did all the things that were necessary. And finally, I was given my Toastmasters award, my Distinguished Toastmaster Award. And when I was getting it, I wound up talking to a mentor of mine, John McDonald. Now, John's a past district governor of District 86, back when we had governors instead of directors. And I said to John, what do I do now? I've got my Distinguished Toastmaster. That's as high as the levels go. He said, do it again. I went, what? He says, do it again. Get yourself a competent communicator manual, go through the whole schmozzle again. I trusted John, so I did exactly that. I got a competent communicator manual. Now, I have to explain something to you. When I went through my competent communicator manual the first time, they had on the front page of each project, there were 10 projects in that book, on the front page of each of those projects was a little gray area that told you in brief, it was an executive summary of the objectives of that project. And I would read that executive summary and I would go, yeah, I can do that. And I would do a speech that represented the ideals they were looking for. And by doing that, doing speeches that way, I went through my competent communicator manual like a hot knife through butter. It was just, whew, and it was done. When I started to go through it the second time, I thought, the only way to make this interesting is to maybe actually read the projects. So I did. I read through these projects. It was pretty good stuff. So I read them in more detail and I looked for ways that I could grow the way they were describing in these projects. The second time I was given the title of competent communicator, I think I actually earned it. I think I actually deserved it. I continued through the whole thing and I got my second DTM that way. And then I realized that I'd gotten so much more the second time than I did the first time. So even without John McDonald telling me, I went back and did it again. I didn't get a third DTM because there are some qualifications to it that I haven't yet achieved. They were easier the first or second time through, I guess. But in the meantime, pathways came along and I've since completed 2 paths and I'm almost through the third path. Now, I'm not saying all this to boast. I'm saying that John gave me the idea that I needed to make a commitment to doing the thing right. Now, I don't know if you have made that commitment to yourself yet or not, but if you haven't, I encourage you, take a look at the projects you have. The Pathways program has all sorts of challenges in terms of implementation. Accessing the website, making sure that you've gotten credit for everything you're supposed to do. Those are all challenges that we're working on and overcoming. But the content is as good as it ever was. So I encourage you, whatever pathway you are on right now, whatever path you're following, read the material they give you because it's good stuff. They've got a lot of great material. And if you make a commitment to yourself to doing that, that'll make you a stronger leader too. And the final point that I want to discuss in that is the need to connect with others. Now, 3 weeks from now, 3 weeks from right now, we'll be in the middle of the first of the Saturday morning of the District 86 conference. And that's going to be a fabulous conference because for the first time in 3 years, there will be a live in-person element to it. On the Sunday of that weekend, many of us will brace ourselves to meet in person. Now, don't misunderstand me. I love watching talented speakers give me great illustrations of how to do a keynote. I love taking part in workshops, whether it's online or in person. Online works just great. We're proving that today. I love observing a district level speech contest. And when I'm sitting in the audience, I don't get to interact with anybody really because I'm focused on the stage. When I'm sitting behind my computer screen, I can watch carefully as the person giving the speech is doing their great speech. And all that stuff we can do online. I can get that at this club level. And that's why you see me here more often than not. But I can't get the connection as good. I can't get as good a job of making that connection as I can when I'm at a live event, when I'm in person, when I get to interact with more people by far than I've seen in any club. It is intense, but the connection with like-minded people is worth far more than the paltry $100 fee for this year's conference. A live in-person conference is a concentrated example of connecting others. So I bring it up today. But here are some other examples. When we log into this meeting a few minutes early, as many of you did, and we hear and take part in connection when we're doing that. When Granny B gets our group mentoring program in full swing, there will be a connection in those group meetings, because we're going to have little groups of people helping each other, mentor each other through their Toastmasters experience. When I spoke last week about listening skills, when I listen effectively and learn from others, that too is connection. Self-directed leaders seek out connection with their fellow leaders and with the people they lead. And I can tell you, as the VP of Education for our club, part of the reason why I started doing this speech, I was disappointed with the level of connection I was seeing on EasySpeak this past week. People either aren't logging in to EasySpeak between sessions, or they're having problems with it, and we're working on that. But people weren't confirming roles. People weren't selecting roles. They weren't choosing to do roles. I had lots of volunteers for speakers. And when one of the speakers had to bow out because of another commitment, I had somebody jump in right away to take his place. That was great. But taking roles in the club meeting makes the club meeting work. And I was looking at this and nobody was taking the roles. No one was stepping up. Now, EasySpeak is a marvelous tool for helping an organization to meet and for helping to make a meeting run well. But it's like Granny Boda was saying last week about mentoring, the Toastmasters program. She says it doesn't work. You work. It doesn't work. You do the work. It's the same thing with EasySpeak and with Toastmasters meetings. Toastmasters meetings will only work if people step up to take roles. And I'm not talking about people being willing to step up as they did today and take roles at the last minute. That's great. I love the attitude of our club. But I would love it even more if I could see people taking roles ahead of time, looking ahead and saying, okay, you know what? I think I can do better than I've done before at being an evaluator. I'm going to volunteer to be an evaluator at this week's meeting. I think I can do a good job at being the general evaluator. I'm going to take that role. I'd like to come back to the EasySpeak platform next week and see that most of the roles have already been grabbed. I think that would be fantastic. But here's the reason I'm telling you all this. I did not mean this to beat you up because that's not my intention. The reason I'm telling you all this is I was frankly Well, I was pretty discouraged around about Thursday, the end of Thursday, middle of Friday. And then as I was writing this presentation, it occurred to me, we are on a journey of self-discovery to become self-directed leaders. Most of us aren't there yet. I'm not. But you are right here, right now. You're on your way to becoming a self-directed leader. And that outcome is going to demand some things of you. It's going to demand that you take initiative. It's going to demand that you make a commitment toward your goals. And it's going to demand that you try to connect with like-minded people. I'm going to do a little sidebar here because when I talk about making a commitment to your goals, I'm assuming that you have goals. Not everybody does. Most Toastmasters do, I have to admit, but not everyone does. And if you don't have a goal, or if your goal isn't clearly defined, I encourage you today, when this meeting's done, take a few minutes and think about your goals. And then over the next couple of days, write down some detail about your goals, why your goal is important to you, what you want to do, how you're going to achieve your goal. And if you don't know how you're going to achieve your goal, what would the first step be at least? Look at the completed goal as if it's something that you have already achieved and say, okay, well, what would be the first step towards getting into that position? Because having a goal, as I mentioned earlier in that list I rhymed off from Brahm, having a goal is central to being a self-directed leader. You can't direct yourself somewhere if you don't know where you're directing yourself. I talked in another speech about Alice in Wonderland, where she says to the Cheshire Cat, which way should I go? And he says, well, where do you want to get to? That's the thing you have to decide. And if you have clear goals, if you take initiative to achieve those goals, if you make a commitment toward those goals, and if you connect with like-minded people who are also seeking to achieve goals, then you're going to start to become a self-directed leader. We aren't there yet, but together we are on our way. And that is what being a self-directed leader is all about. Leaders lead. I'm going to put my Toastmaster hat back on again and become the Toastmaster again. This is going to be a fun meeting. So, is Sharon here yet? I don't see her. Darn. Okay. I'm going to ask if anybody got a word that they'd like to see used today for the rest of the day? We may not have someone to track it yet, but.
Let's go with gregarious.
Oh, I like that. Thank you, Ron. We're going to have, do you happen to have a definition of gregarious for those who aren't necessarily familiar with it?
I have no idea what it means. No, I do. I will look it up and put it in.
He's funny.
I will get it and put it in the chat.
Thank you very much, Ron. I'm nothing if not gregarious. So I'm going to start right into introducing our speakers for today. Unfortunately, the first one isn't Ron, so he still has time to do his thing. Our first speaker, oops, hang on a second here. Give me a moment here. Ah, there we go. Okay. Our first speaker today is Fursey Gotuaco. Am I massacring your name badly enough, Fursey?
You're good.
I'm good, okay. Fursey's evaluator is Ray Rivero. And I took the liberty of sending the evaluation form to Ray earlier today. So Ray, can you give us the objectives of Fursey's speech? Is Ray here? He was here.
He is still here.
Oh, good.
Yes, the purpose of this speech is to share communication style and its impact on either a professional or personal relationship.
Okay.
And it's not to report on the content of the project, but to share what he found out by going through the survey on this project. I did have a chance to get a formal introduction from Fursey, but I did come up one. It is my pleasure to welcome Fursey Gotuaco. Forgive me for the pronunciation of your last name. But he is a 2020 World Champion Public Speaking semifinalist. Today, he will be presenting a contest speech using Visionary Communication Level 2, Understanding Your Communication Style project. Fursey Gotuaco, things don't care. They don't care. They don't care. Fursey Gotuaco.
Thank you, Ray. Take it away, Fursey.
My eventual 30-year career in education almost failed in the first month if it wasn't for this. That's right. I think for many people, this comes to the rescue quite often. But it's not quite exactly what you think. Come back with me a few years, if you will. I'm straight out of college. I get my first teaching gig, and I'm on it. I'm like, let's go to work. You come in the door, let's go to work, let's go to work, let's go to work. I'm serious. Let's go to work. And after the first month, nobody was doing any work. I was doing work. Nobody else was doing work. I finally go to my boss. Boss, this ain't working. They don't care. Oh, really? They don't care? Well, let me tell you a story about a duck and a bottle. And I was like, whoa, what? What? I was really trying to figure out where he was going with this. You see, there's this duck inside of a bottle. And I was like, boss, how did the duck get inside the bottle? It's a parable. Just go with me. Okay. So a man is nervous and he's all stressed up and he goes to see the doctor and the doctor gives him a bottle and he puts a duck inside of it. Now, I couldn't go out and get a duck because we're in China and we eat those. But anyway, so what I did is I went ahead and just got a cork for the purpose of this speech, if you don't mind. And then back to the story. The doctor puts the duck in the bottle and said, if you can get the duck out of the bottle without breaking the bottle or hurting the duck, you will be healed. I was like, I didn't really need healing, boss. I just need to know what to do with these kids because they don't care. Well, have you told them why they should do the work? No, I'll do that. Thank you. And I left the office as quickly as I could, parable or no parable. So I got back to the classroom, right to it. Okay, kids, we're going to work. And here's why you should do the work. And I told them all about the stuff that they needed to do. And I told them all about my degrees. And I told them all about the great things that they would learn in college and they would be successful in college if they would just listen to what I told them. Great teaching, right? No, they still wouldn't do it. They didn't care no matter how much I knew. I go back to the boss. Boss, it didn't work. I told them why they needed to know it. I told them all that information that I learned in college, and they still don't care. Did you tell them about the duck in the bottle? No, I didn't tell them about the duck in the bottle. Well, why do you think that guy took the duck in the bottle? You see, and I was like, really, boss? Yeah, he took the duck in the bottle and he brought it back to the doctor. And the doctor said, did you get it? And the guy goes, no, I didn't get it. So the man goes back home. He comes back 3 weeks later and he says, Doc, I can't get the duck out of the bottle. Just try it again. At this point, the man is very frustrated. Yeah, and so am I. So the man finally, 5 weeks later, brings the bottle back to the doc and he says, Doc, I just don't care anymore. It ain't my bottle and it ain't my duck. I quit. So you want me to quit? Do you want to quit? No, I don't want to quit. Why do you think that man quit? Because he didn't care. And why don't you quit? Because I care. Really? How do your kids know that? What? And that's when it dawned on me. They don't care how much I know until they know how much I care. Theodore Roosevelt's quote comes true. They don't care how much I know until they know how much I care. So I immediately went back down to my classroom and I started talking to the kids about them, not me, and not about the studies, but about them. Instead of saying, let's get to work, it was about, how are you? How was your weekend? How's your brother? How are your folks? Hey, I saw you at the game Saturday. You were good. You were great. And all of a sudden, they started to actually listen. And they actually started to do things, all because I actually showed an interest in them. It turns out that what I had been doing was trying to stuff their brains with information. Just like this bottle and this chopstick, because I'm in China and we use chopsticks for many things. But just like this bottle where I stuffed this cloth in there, I was trying to stuff information into these kids' brains because that's what I thought education was, you know, like the old adage, a mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a lamp to be lit. I needed to spend less time stuffing things into the kids, and I needed to spend more time pulling things out of them. And to do that, I needed to care. I needed to be able to finesse things out of them. Now, I know many of you aren't teachers, but like we just talked about, this is Toastmasters. We are leaders. Our job is to get things out of people, to bring out the best in people, not to stuff information into them, but to bring out the best of them. But the thing to remember is that they won't care how much we know until they know how much we care. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Fursey. Inspirational. I'm going to pause here for a moment because I just realized, and it's been pointed out to me as well, that I did not acknowledge our guests today. And we have 3 guests today. And so I'm going to ask them to take just a moment to introduce themselves. And then we'll get on to our second speaker. The first guest is Nazim.
Can you hear me, Bud?
Can hear you perfectly, Nazim. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. I I have been a repetitious invitee here by Brahms, and I really truly enjoy your presentation from top to bottom. And the most remarkable thing is about the evaluation. I am fascinated. I am caught up. I am immersed. I am, what's the word of the week? I am gregarious about the methodology that you use for the evaluation. And this goes to especially to the president. Help me with his name. What's your president's name?
Brent.
Brent, sorry. Brent, excuse me. I have a senior's moment here. Thank you, Bud.
Thank you, Nazim. Nazim, you are certainly gregarious, but I'm going to tell you that the reason we keep inviting you to introduce yourself is because that's our not too subtle way of encouraging you to join. Once you join, we'll stop putting you on the spot every meeting. So just something to keep in mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the inspiration.
Yvonne, could you tell us a little bit about what brought you here?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Right. I am a repetitive person who attend the meeting. I got the invitation in my email, so I try to attend as often as I possibly can.
Fantastic.
And I'm enjoying what you all do at your Toastmasters Club, and I like to listen to your evaluations. So I'm here again, and as often as I can come in, I will do so. Thanks for having me.
Well, and you're welcome as often as you like, Yvonne. We would love to see you as a member, but we'd love to see you as a guest as well.
I am a member of a club in Barbados as well too, but I think your club is more advanced than ours. I like how you all evaluate like twice and that kind of thing. And that's really, I'm interested in being able to evaluate as good as I possibly can. So that's why I constantly come to the meetings.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. And Peter, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to today's meeting?
Here I am.
Oh, good.
I'm Peter Lutzman, and I have no friends and I have no place else to go on Saturday morning. So I stumbled onto your invitation, and you were gracious enough to let me join your meeting. But seriously, I think I belong to a couple clubs here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I continue to learn how to improve my speeches, and maybe even some leadership skills. That's gravy or icing on the cake after I learn how to speak. And the thing I have to remember by joining or being involved in a diversity of clubs is that you cannot continue to learn from yourself or your own people. You have to reach out and learn from your others. Or from others. So that's the main reason for coming in to listen to your presentations. And I'm very, very pleased with what I've heard in the last couple of meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And that's that connection I was talking about in my presentation a few minutes ago. I kind of misled Nazim a little bit, because while this is a not too subtle way of getting people to join our club, it's also a way of connecting with the people who show up as guests and who are most welcome. Okay, let's get the show back on the road here. Our second speaker is Marianna Burka. And Marianna's evaluator today will be Sandy Emden. And I'm going to ask Sandy if she would share with us the objectives of Marianna's speech.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our speaker, Marianna, today I had the privilege of speaking with a couple of minutes before the meeting and learned that she is going to start a brand new path today here at Leadership Speak, and she's presenting her icebreaker speech, which for the timer is 4 to 6 minutes. And the objectives of this speech, as we all know, is to begin speaking, tell us a little bit about yourself, and hopefully have the evaluator be able to highlight some of the skills as a speaker you have already, and perhaps point out an area that you might level up this presentation even more. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sandy. Can you help me in welcoming Marianna Burka? This is me. This is me, Marianna Burka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. This is me, Marianna, and I am an addict. I have infinite love and desire for this bittersweet drink called coffee. I have this drink every day, not once, but twice, sometimes even 3 or 4 times. Day without coffee is not existing. It's not gonna happen. You may know this already because every time, every meeting, I have my trusted coffee mug in my hand. I carrying this around with me every time, everywhere I go, just like children carry their safety blanket. And in a way, this is my safety mug. It can occupy my hand, and also I can cover up my face. I can have a sip, though all I really want is just an extra second to come up with a proper reaction or just to hide my nervousness. But most of all, I love the taste of my venti hazelnut soy latte, no foam. This is what I order in my favorite coffee shop, Starbucks. I am an avid Starbucks fan in the past 15 years, but my love for coffee started long before that, about 30 years before that. I was about 15 years old when my family, we went on a family vacation. And the first time I was allowed to drink this delicious drink. Before that vacation, 4 years, I was watching my parents preparing and consuming this enticingly aromatic drink. And as I got older, they let me help with preparation. And sometimes my mother even let me to get a sugar cube and just dip it into the coffee, and I could have a taste of adulthood. Because that is coffee for me, being an adult. Well, adultish at that time. So at our family vacation, every morning, we had breakfast together. My father, my mother, my 2 younger siblings, and myself. But after breakfast, my parents walked over to the nearby bar where besides alcoholic beverages, they served coffee. Now, my younger siblings were sent away to play, but I was allowed to join my parents, and I was offered and permitted to have this drink. Well, in there, they didn't serve this long American coffee. No, they had short Italian
espresso, the one that's bitter even after a generous amount of sugar in it. I didn't like it very much, but I would not dare to say that, because if I didn't drink that coffee, I would have no reason sitting in the bar with my parents and other adults around me. So this is how my coffee drinking journey started. For many years after, I had this Italian espresso, and I put a bit milk, more sugar, and eventually I turned it into a latte, which is lots of milk, some coffee in it. And as I moved to Canada, I started buying coffee mugs when I was traveling. So today I have over 300 coffee mugs. And as you can see, I rarely have enough space in my kitchen, but I still keep buying coffee mugs. So I guess you can say that I have not one, but I have two addictions. But it really pleases me every morning when I stand in front of my wall to try to pick out the coffee mug of the day. And as I'm looking at them, wonderful travel memories jump into my mind. And once I pick out the day of the mug, I start to prepare my coffee. Thank you.
And thank you, Marianna. We have 1 minute for people to make down some notes and share with Marianna anything that they care to about what works for her and what is working for her, and even ways that she could make her speech more powerful. I sometimes forget this isn't a contest, and I don't have to keep everybody silent during the time when we're making notes. If you're writing, you don't have to say anything, but I've already written, so I can say things. I changed my background to an indoor one. I was inspired in part by Marianna. I love the coffee gallery.
Without my coffee, I'm lost in mornings.
Do you have a latte of it?
No.
I'm sorry, I apologize. That was terrible.
That's good.
Okay.
That's a good quiz question.
Okay, our third speaker is Ron Hesketh, and Vinod has volunteered to be his evaluator. Vinod, could you tell us the objectives of Ron's speech? Actually,
thank you, Hart. I will not only tell, I will actually share the project objectives. So most of you can see over here. Ron has selected persuasive influence as a path, and he's attempting his project 2 from level 1, and the timing would be 5 to 7. The purpose of the speech is to learn or review basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. All the very best, Ron. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Vinod. Can you help me in welcoming Ron Hesketh? Calling all mentors. Calling all mentors, Ron Hesketh.
Steve Jobs mentoring Mark Zuckerberg. Warren Buffett mentoring Bill Gates. And Steven Spielberg mentoring J.J. Abrams. Just examples of mentorship. And we talk a lot about mentorship in Toastmasters. Today, I want to tell you a story of an associate of mine whom I'm mentoring and his story. Don was born to a working class family who had immigrated here from Britain. He was an only child. In grade 1, he started to wear glasses, and he was sort of a skinny kid. So he had some issues initially with his self-image. He was not gregarious at all. Still isn't gregarious today. He was a B.C. student. No real passions, nothing he really hooked onto in his early years of school that fascinated him. No major hobbies, didn't have a lot of friends. So you can see where his gregarious attitude would have to be developed over the years. He was bullied mercilessly in the early grades. And when he got to the high school level, he really had no vision of where he wanted to go or what he wanted to do with his life. So he went into retailing, the first job that he ever interviewed for. His only objective was to earn some money and be independent. And then the cycle began. And the cycle still goes on today. Now, what do I mean by the cycle? Throughout his career, starting in retailing, then going to personal banking, then the corporate banking, and then onto his own company over the next 50 years, it was obvious there was something going on, but nobody pointed it out to him, and Don never caught on either. But the typical pattern was this. He, because he was gregarious, had a great personality, and people loved him. He was always joking, he had a great sense of humor. What he found in his career was that getting advancements was easy. Managers would come up after maybe a few months with a particular company and say, Ron, it's time for you to move up to branch manager, let's say. And who turns down that kind of thing? Even though inwardly, Don wasn't really sure that he was ready, even though inwardly he didn't have the confidence of a leader, you took the promotion. Of course you would, for the prestige, for the salary. But it was only after maybe a few months or any certain period of time that he ran into trouble. Because he was a, quote, nice guy, he lacked the skills and the knowledge to be a true leader. He lacked the ability to discipline and to train and to set the example. So inevitably, and whatever job he was in, it got to the point where things broke down. The people that admired him at first as a gregarious friend and coworker didn't like him as a boss. And they were right. He was incompetent as a boss for the many reasons I've just mentioned. His career continued. So typically he would be with a company maybe 3 or 4 years until he got to that level of incompetency where he either moved himself because he knew it was coming or he was moved by his superiors. And that's a killer to the ego, isn't it? Failure, success, failure, success, and so on. He got through retailing, he went into personal banking, same scenario happened. He went into corporate banking because it was an easy transfer. And the company didn't want to fire him, so they simply moved him into another incompetent area at a level that he wasn't ready for. And Ron continued to accept these promotions, as I think any of us would. But Ron needed help. And in my discussions with him, the real criteria for Ron was that he was unable to be self-aware of where his strengths were. His strengths were personality, his strengths were decision-making, but he had great difficulty in learning the amount of stuff he had to know in a specialty field and being disciplined enough to discipline and train and set the example for his employees. So life was miserable. Frequently, he would go into antidepressants to help him get through the day and continue to move from company to company. What do you think Ron, Don really needed? He needed a mentor. He needed somebody to tell him the way it was and to give him some guidance and pathway along the way. When I was talking to him, he said, you know what? I've never had a mentor. Never had anybody that took a personal interest in me to say, Ron, whoa, wait, you're not ready for that promotion, or you need this education. You need some more training. Come on, Ron, get it together. And certainly nobody was gregarious enough to offer help. It just never happened. Don eventually got to the stage where he realized where his strengths were. But you know what? It took him 40 years or more to figure it all out. Way too late. So, do you have a mentor? Are you a mentor? To me, the mentorship thing is not just about what would be nice to have. It's about what you really need. Don would have really appreciated a strong mentor in his life. So let's you and I look at mentorship as a bonus. If we get it, great. If we give it, even better. We can save somebody's happiness. I challenge you. If you don't have a mentor, get one. If you aren't a mentor, be one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Okay. I'm just looking at our agenda for today and I realize, oh, by the way, can we have 1 minute for for people to make some notes for evaluation for Ron? While people are finishing up their notes, I'm going to ask our timer to give us a report on the speech times this morning. Mary Lou, can you do that?
Yes, I can. Just 1 second. Okay, your minute's up.
Okay.
Okay, so Bud Brown's speech was 16 minutes and 32 seconds. Fursey's speech was 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Marianna's speech was 5 minutes and 55 seconds. And Ron's was 7 minutes and 11 seconds.
Fantastic. So, Fursey, if yours had been a contest speech, you would have been eliminated. So something to keep in mind there. This is why we time, and it's one of the best aspects, in my opinion, of the structure of a Toastmasters meeting. Okay. In a minute or a moment, we're going to have a survey show up on your screen to ask you to vote for who you thought was the best speaker today, or who did the best job of achieving their objectives, is how I always like to phrase it. And we are, Madam Timer, I think we're almost exactly on time, aren't we? I think we've got maybe a minute over. Am I reading that correctly?
You should be at 10:34, 10:24. Yeah, so you're a little over because we're supposed to be taking break at 10:24 according to the schedule.
Oh, okay. The one that Easy Speak created for me said, oh, I know why. It's because it expected my speech to be 22 minutes. Okay. Do we have time for a brief break then? A bio break, as I call it.
Yes, we need to at least take 2 minutes. I know I do.
Sandy,
Okay.
Sandy, are you able to launch the poll or do you need me to?
I have absolutely no idea how to do that. In fact, last week, or when I was here last, I didn't even know how to vote on the poll. Could you tell me how I do that?
You can't. You're, as the host, you are not going to be able to vote.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. One more thing to learn for next week.
Okay. We're going to take a 2-minute break then, and I'll just take my trusty gavel and mark that off. And Madam Timer, could you let us know when 2 minutes has passed?
That means I don't get a bio break.
No, set the clock running.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do and come back. Oh, this is
Yeah, but I'm still incognito because would you believe I got a new camera from Amazon and I believe it's broken because I cannot even have the green light on.
oh no.
Yeah, I couldn't believe this. Yeah. So and I have a supplementary for my son, one of my sons, and I believe I have an old computer, so I wouldn't, it wouldn't connect at all. So I have to wait until I get a new camera. But you know what they said, what is the saying? Absent of what makes the heart, yeah, what makes the heart go fonder? Yeah, yes. So you don't see me now, that's fine.
Well, we can hear you, and that's good as well.
I'd love to participate though. You know, I love your speech too today. Is it? It is. Oh, the first speaker today. I'm losing it too. Oh yes, your speech. I love it. I really love your speech.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because going through the manual the first time, second time, it reminded me of a book I read, Think and Grow Rich. I read it for 42 times. 42 times in the last 33 years.
Napoleon Hill has other books, you know.
I know. I'm a fanatic. I've got all his books.
Well, this shelf behind me is not my library. Actually, it's just the biggest library shelf I could find to have as a background.
Well, I do have a real library here, so.
I do have one, but it's a smaller shelf, and the books are double stacked, so you can't see them all.
But we're back.
I agree. I'm a voracious reader. Okay, Mary Lou has indicated our time is up. So anybody who's not back from their bio break will just have to join in as time permits. I'm going to move on to the second part of our meeting. And I've told other people, I've said this before, I think, but I'm going to say it again because I think it bears repeating. And that is an ideal Toastmasters meeting has 3 parts. And the first part is about speaking, prepared speeches, preparing for speeches, and practicing speeches is something you should all have done for every speech that takes place in that first part. The second part of the meeting is about impromptu speaking. And that is where you learn to speak on the spot. And anybody who's ever been in a business meeting where the boss turns to them and says, well, Bud, what do you think about this? Give me your thoughts. And you wind up doing what I call Porky Pigging it, where you go, well, I don't know, boss. Appreciates the power and the value of the table topics section of the meeting, impromptu speaking. So without any further introduction, I'm going to ask Luz to take over and do the table topics portion of our meeting. Luz, take it away.
Thank you so much. I appreciate today being the table topics master. And with that, I'm going to go with the theme, which is Spring. Let me see which one is the default. The Spring. Can you please remind me the team? Spring and Sprung. Okay. Well, I'm gonna start with the questions, and I'm going to first call. I'm gonna ask the question, and then I'm going to call the person. The first table topic is: your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. And the question is, what kind of seeds have you planted in the garden of your mind regarding self-directed leadership? I'm going to call Vinod Panicker. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation of your name.
Hi, Luz. Yes. Can you repeat?
Yes. The question is, what kind of seeds have you planted in the garden of your mind regarding self-directed leadership?
Thank you. Every morning when I get up, I need at least 1 hour of either reading or listening to an audiobook just to make sure that my next 9 to 10 hours, which I would be working or interacting with people, goes fine. And 3 days consecutively, if I don't do this, or if I even reduce the number from 160 minutes to 45 minutes, the quality of conversations starts to degrade. Thank you very much, Table Topic Master. The topic is something which is very, very close to me. And yes, every morning I make sure that I plant seeds for the entire day. And self-directed leadership is something I don't believe there are self-directed leaders to be from my point of view. What I believe is self-directedness is one of the elements of leadership. Because when you say self-directed leadership, it has self. Leadership is all about others. For me, self-directedness is an element which needs to be a part of leadership. And that is what I make sure I study, I keep planting the seeds, I give it appropriate sunlight, I give it appropriate soil, and I meet the right people, and I am here with the right people, and if required, take up roles impromptuly, and if required, I take up the speaking role of impromptu speaker first. Thank you very much, and I would request each and everyone to do that. Plant the seeds by taking up roles and make our VP Education's life a little bit more less stressful for the next meeting. Thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Vinod, for the response. And I'm going to call now, I'm going to say the second question is, how should we cultivate our leadership skills? And I'm going to call, let me see, I'm not sure if that person is here because I got the name earlier and I don't see the person anymore here. Okay. Brent Pattison.
Can you repeat the question for me, Luz?
Yes. How should we cultivate our leadership skills?
How should we cultivate our leadership skills? You know, when I think about cultivating leadership skills, I think a lot about what it meant to help start and initiate this club as an example, because what that really did is it forced me to think about what I do to cultivate my leadership skills. And really what it comes down to, in my opinion, is a commitment to learning. A commitment to learning from your own experiences through self-reflection of what you learned on a given day, in a given week, from a job, from a travel experience, from interactions with other individuals, but learning from your own personal experiences and finding ways to apply them to how you could have been a more effective leader in certain situations from your own experiences. Combined with that is a commitment to learning from the experiences of others, whether that's through watching YouTube videos, whether it's from watching a movie and finding inspiration about, fantastic leadership demonstrations in a film, or maybe it is committed to reading a book like 42 times, as we heard that Nazim has apparently read. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, Think and Grow Rich. Sorry, my bad. Thinking 42 times. But nevertheless, whether you're learning from your own experiences or learning from the experience of others, whether that's through books, film, YouTube, or leadership books specifically, it's about that commitment to learning that helps you cultivate, and through that reflection on your learning from the experiences of yourself and learning from the experience of others, and then finding ways to apply those learnings as you move forward towards your own committed goals and objectives. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. That's a great response. I really think that one of the important values to have it is commitment. Okay, and I'm going to go to the third question. What are the essential ingredients for a successful self-leadership? And I'm going to call Ran Memon. Raham.
He's not here right now.
Okay, I'm going to go with Ray Rivero.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. What are the essential ingredients for a successful self-leadership?
Fellow leadership members and guests, I would personally say it would just start off with a type of innovation, starting from within here, within your heart, the desire to say, I do not want to remain in a status quo situation. I want to expand my circle and see what I can do to be better. I also, for me, realized that I could read something about leadership in a book, but if you could have done that, I would have believed that an organization like Toastmasters International would have sent us leadership manuals. And they did in the old legacy program. But you know something? In those legacy programs, it isn't with a theory. It is by doing. That's the best way to learn about leadership. And if I fall flat on my face, and I have, I get up, dust myself off, try it again. And I keep on doing that. Maybe it's because I got a hard head about it, but it's about never giving up, especially when it's about yourself. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Ray. Okay, and I just want to thank you because it's my first time here, and especially like giving table topics. I appreciate the support. The number 5. What are the habits you should water every day like a flower to be a great leader? And I'm gonna call Yayapriya. Is that how you pronounce your name? Could you please help me?
Yes, Yayapriya.
Thank you very much.
Madam Table Topic Master, can you please repeat the topic once again for me?
Yes. What are the habits you should water, is like every day like a flower to be a great leader?
For a self-directed leader to flower and bloom as a servant leader, the first thing is being humble, allowing the team to perform on their own, standing behind the team and mentoring what they need to do, how they need to do, and stepping inside and helping them when they are in crisis. A great leader can become a great management person as well through the self-directed leadership. If they are not micromanaging the team, a flower needs to bloom on its own. If there is a right sunshine, right water, and relevant ingredients are added as fertilizers to it. Likewise, a leader needs to step in when the team needs a support and not overdoing it. And that is how, even in Toastmasters, we are all grooming as self-leaders. So these habits are more required for every Toastmaster to groom as a great leader. Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you so much, Priya. Okay. What are the qualities that someone needs to blossom as a leader? And I'm going to call Nasim Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. What are the qualities you need to have in order to be a successful leader? Is that the correct question? What are the qualities?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to be gregarious here today, but I want to be just a little bit more fundamental in management and leadership style, because fortunately, I've been in that position for a long time. One of the most important things of being self-directed is to take responsibility for everything. We heard today, people don't care how much you know, but until they care how much you care, until they know how much you care. And when you as a leader start to take responsibility, that is personal responsibility comes first. That's your priority every day. And you heard a lot of speakers talk about the first thing they do every morning. The first thing I do every morning is that I ensure that I plant the right seed. What are the right seeds? Is to be positive. Positive thoughts are like seeds. Negative thoughts are like weeds. So stay away from the negatives and be totally responsible for your personal side. Then secondly is to lead a team, organization, or people in your society. How do you do that? Is show the example. When you are the example, people will follow you. And when you're a great example, people will be inspired and they will learn from you. They will be immersed in what you're doing. They would listen to you and they will follow you, just like a great teacher. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm still on time, right? I'm calling the timer. I'm okay. Okay. Okay, and I'm gonna say the next question. How often should we renew our commitment as leaders? Peter Letzman.
Would you be kind enough to repeat the question for me?
Yes. How often should we renew our commitment as leaders?
How often? How often should we renew?
Yes.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. The renewal of your leadership skills should be an ongoing quest. As a matter of fact, I have kind of broken down leadership as you learn, you do, and then you evaluate. So as you do any project, as you undertake, whether you're mentoring someone, whether you are teaching someone, whether you are controlling a project that's being done, you first teach the folks how to do it. You then let them go ahead and do it. And then you evaluate them as well as you evaluate yourself. You take a look, have you been successful in what you are doing, or have you not been successful? And that may go not only to big projects, but to individual, let's say, coaching sessions. Did you listen to the person? Did I do the right job in evaluating the person? So what it happens, it's a three-part skill as a leader that you constantly do, and you have to have evaluation of others and evaluation of self. And I think that's one of the critical things here in Toastmasters. We really do evaluations. And what I look forward to in Toastmasters and in the business world or in the family world or in the world outside is true, honest, objective evaluation that is not hurtful. True, honest, and not hurtful, but constant evaluation. Thank you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you so much. Okay, I do want to be gregarious here and trying to get out of my comfort zone. Okay, and the last question, I'm not sure. I
No,
still
you're
have
up for time now, I think.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Liz.
much.
Oh,
Okay, and go back to Toastmaster. Thank you so much.
thank you, Mary. Thank you, Liz. Thought I was muted there for a second. Okay, if you can look at you, there's a poll on your screen now, and it's just got numbers 1 through 9. So I don't know.
I put the names of the speakers and in the chat.
Ah,
So
okay.
the order of the speakers are in the chat.
So take a look at your chat and pick the one that you think did the best job speaking impromptu today. So you've got Vinod, Brent, Ray, Jayapriya, Nazim, and Peter. And so pick one of the 6 and vote, and we'll have the results of that for you shortly. And while you're doing that, I'm going to report on the results of the speaking poll that we had. And our winner today of the best speech is Fursey Gotuaco. Congratulations, Fursey. Almost wish I had a trophy I could give you or something like that. So, okay.
But can I report on the times now?
Yes, I was just coming to that. Thank you, Marianna.
Okay.
I was voting first.
So, that's okay. So all speakers in the table topics were under 2 minutes, which is fantastic. And everybody was over 1 minute, which was also very good. Everybody was sort of 156 was Vinod, 155 was Brent, 153 was Ray, Priya was 117, Nazim was 144, and Peter was 146. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I talked about 3 parts of a meeting a few minutes ago, and we've reached the 3rd portion of the meeting. I have people, lots of times I hear people say, oh, we've come to my favorite part of the meeting, table topics. My favorite part of the meeting is feedback, evaluations. And to lead that part of the meeting, I'm going to pass the gavel through the camera. I don't know what it'll be transmogrified into. Pass it to our general evaluator for today, Brent Pattison.
Thank you very, very much, sir. All right. Before I kick into our general evaluation of the meeting, I do want to take a very brief moment as the president of Leadership Speak to address just a little bit of club business, and that is we added a bunch of new members to our club over the last couple of weeks. And what I want to acknowledge is that now we chartered this club back in the second week of February after our launch meeting, and we were able to obtain 20 charter members as a result of our launch meeting at the beginning of February. Since then, we've actually added 9 new members to the club, which not only means, of course, that we're continuing to grow the club and we'll continue to strive to grow the club, but that also means that we've actually already achieved the objective towards our President's Club Distinguished Award for club growth by adding 9 new members within the course of the term. We did that within the first month. And I just want to say congratulations to this entire club for all of the members for bringing forward and making fantastic meetings that inspired that many people to want to join our club, in addition to, of course, our charter members. So congratulations to Leadership Speak. And I just also wanted to use it as an opportunity to welcome our newest members that have joined since the inception of the club. I know that Scarlett's not here today, but she was not one of the charter members, and she joined essentially right after our charter, as did Sharon and Marianna. In addition to that, Surashi, I apologize for the butchering of the pronunciation of your name. Surashi Karan, Hannah Schmidt, who's not able to attend today, as well as Linda Adu and Francois Bowen have also joined the club. And then in addition to that, our newest members who are here in attendance today are Timer, Mary Lou Hassan, and our Table Topics Master today, Luz Sanchez. So congratulations to all of our new members, and congratulations to the Leadership Speak Club for achieving that kind of club growth in such a short period of time. So congratulations to all of you. And on that note, to Bud's point, we get to jump into the evaluation portion of our meeting today, which is also my favorite part of our meetings, because I think if we took away anything from Peter's speech, learning, then doing, then evaluating is that key to becoming better at what we do, that we learn something new, we apply it, and the best way to apply that learning is to have that learning evaluated. And that's really where the growth and development comes from. First up, I'd like to welcome our first evaluator of today, Ray Rivero. Ray?
Thank you, Brent. Fellow Leadership Speak members, honored guests, and especially Fursey. You asked me to look at your speech from the lens of an international contest, but I'm going to present it to you from the perspective of an evaluation contestant. So what I liked was how you immediately grabbed our attention. When you presented the bottle, I had no idea what you were planning to use it for. Are we going to drink? Are we going to have a toast? What? And then I liked how you used that as your prop to illustrate the expectation that your boss had about your role as a teacher. You thought you could try to do it one way, your teacher, and it took a while for you to understand, and you explained it quite well, took you into another. The duck in the bottle. You thought, and we thought, how do we literally get the duck out of the bottle? And that was before we were thinking, how do we put the duck into the bottle? But I liked how you were going back and forth, experimenting with your role as a teacher, especially the head movements like this. Beautifully done. And you showed exactly what the message was all about. I would also, as a way of improvement, and I know that it was a little long, but that's something that you can work on, is to stretch out the pauses for a little dramatic effect. There, for example, when you could have done a pause when you were going back to your students explaining why they needed to listen to you. It didn't come off well, but you could have put the pause with an additional second or two, not only to get the audience caught up, but to add that little bit of a dramatic effect before you gave us an outcome. Great job in engaging us. Great job in letting us know where this was going. Where showing us what we need to care about, and each and every one of us was really the duck in the bottle. Focus on the pauses, shorten the speech time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the stage of the World Championship of Speaking this year. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you very much, Ray. All right. Next up, if we could have Sandy, who is trying to do double duty today. And Sandy, if you could please provide your evaluation.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially Marianna. Wow, few things in this short time I'd love to point out. Number one is you reminded me with your topic choice of coffee, just how simple a speech could be instead of digging for these deep thoughts or deep messages. Coffee, I love the topic. I can relate to it. A few things that stood out for me learning this technology was you did so many new things that I've never seen before. You stood up at one point during your presentation and you moved all the way around the room to show us your mug collection. I've never seen the camera used that way, and I've never seen the person or the speaker sit to stand. But a lot of what I really enjoyed about your speech today, Marianna, was you speak clearly and slowly and concisely. And I like that because it gives me, the listener, time to hear what you're saying. And my issue was speaking too quickly. So I really learned a lot through your use of speaking slowly. But what I love the most about your speech was your gestures and the way you brought coffee to life. Some of the words you used to relate to coffee, a taste of adulthood. Of course, a taste of adulthood. When you described the dip of that little sugar cube into the coffee, I went, I could taste it. You brought that to life. And even though I kind of assume that English is not your first language, I really like your choice of words. Enticingly aromatic drink. I really like that. That painted the picture for me. And I know your Starbucks order, which is a hazelnut latte with no foam. Now I love foam, so we'll have to talk another day about why you don't want foam in your latte. Your conclusion really wrapped up nicely to me, not only to see the collection of mugs you have been collecting for a long time, but the idea of starting your day by choosing one and then just really reveling in it is really an idea. I have some favorite mugs, but I only have 3. Your mug collection is quite sophisticated. Something I might change to make it even more, I guess, memorable or powerful. Now, I do not know how to do this, but I think rather than moving your camera all around the room, if you could spotlight or show a slide of the collection. I don't know how to do this myself, but if you know that capacity, I might try that on to see if that maybe makes less movement of the room and more focus on you and your message. I really learned a lot today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Well done. And then next up, if I could please welcome Vinod with his evaluation of Ron's speech.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Be one, get one. And I will be evaluating our speaker, Ron, based on what he said, be one, get one. Be one is what I feel is his positive, his strength, and get one would be the recommendation. Now, Ron, you are a calm, confident speaker. And while you were speaking, I could see every minute your confidence was growing. Each passing minute, you are feeling more comfortable in front of screen and you are very confident. Second, I loved that you used a personal story about your associate, and we know that Ron was bullied. He had no vision and he was a B or C student. You gave examples and you created a scene that what is going to happen next and how he got into the cycle of where he could not find his strength. You have a very sharp mind. You use the word Gregorius 4 times. I believe that is something very, very commendable, but not to be practiced a lot with a prepared speech. Let us stick to the, like what you say, to the script, whatever we have written. But I felt that is your strength that you have. You catch things immediately. Now, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And the speech, the purpose is basically to write with a purpose. And your purpose was to share the importance of mentorship according to you. Now, let me look at the content and then the delivery. I would say that use an axe for your content. We don't write our speech, we rewrite our speeches. You started a good opening with a hook where you spoke about Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg. If you could have added who was the mentor of Steve Jobs also, I felt that would given a good, like what you say, punch to your tagline, be one, get one. Because not only you're sharing that, okay, Mark Zuckerberg is being mentored by Steve Jobs, I also mentioned by that. And you could have spoken a little bit slow over there. Like, you know that because you were in a little bit hurry in the beginning. Now, I personally believe and use a style which was, I believe it's Bill Gove, called as father of public speaking. This is where I was, this is what happened, this is what I did, this is where I am now. It's all international speeches use the same model. I could see you used, this is where Ron was, this is something what happened, but I missed the other two parts. What he did with that. Was he looking for a mentor? And if he got a mentor, what happened with him? That would have been really impactful, right? So I was looking for that particular thing over there. I missed that particular, like what he said, the call to action that, okay, he found a mentor and he changed his life. And the style of speech was narrative. When there is a character in a speech, you can bring him alive by giving him description. We would love to see Ron on the screen, how he looked, how much his height was, how he smiled, or anything else. So I felt this could be a little bit addition to your speech, but get it, give it. Amazing speech, and I'm looking forward for more of your speeches, Ron. All the very best. Thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Well done, Vinod. Excellent. If I could please get a report from our timer regarding the timing of our evaluations today.
Hello. So yes, so the timing of our evaluations are as follows. Unfortunately, everyone was a little bit over 3 minutes, but hey, evaluations are a good thing. So Rivero, you were 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Sandy, you were 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And Vinod, you were 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Timer. Now, we did have a grammarian today who unfortunately was not able to join until a little bit late into the meeting, but I did want to, I know you did join us, Sharon, and Wanted to turn it over to you if you had some level of report. I know you didn't get to deliver the word of the day, and it was thrown in the chat, but I don't know also if you would have been able to capture a count. But if you have a report for us based on your time that you were able to be in the meeting, by all means.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to say I'm doing this off the cuff. I completely didn't look at anything because I thought someone else had done it. I had my word as heyday, but I liked the ability for everyone to pronounce words properly today. I think it would be a really neat idea for one meeting, maybe if everyone could put phonetically how you say your word in chat, so we know going forward, because names are really important and we have to learn how to say all the names. And Priya, I saw that that's how you like to be called instead of Jaya Priya. So things like that, just so we know going forward. I loved the word usage. That's all I can say. I didn't check any ums or ahs. Sorry, guys. I was just too engrossed. It was a fantastic meeting. Sorry, Brent.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you. These things do happen, and we totally understand. All right. I'm going to just throw up a poll here for the best evaluator. And while I am doing that, I'm going to actually share the results from the Table Topics poll. And we actually had a three-way tie. Between Vinod, myself, between myself, Priya, and our guest for the day. Excuse me, apologies. I'm losing track of myself, but our guest Peter. So it was a three-way tie. So congratulations to all of our Table Topics participants. And I will give the best evaluator poll one last moment for that last participant to add to the poll. And I like Bud's suggestion. So Table Topics Master, because of a three-way tie, you have to be the tiebreaker. Luz?
Everybody was so great. I wanted to take notes of every person that spoke today in table topics. Okay, Peter. Yeah, Peter.
I like it. Good. Thanks, Luz. All right. And
thank you all.
And before I start my general evaluation of the meeting, our best evaluator for today, Vinod Panicker. Vinod, congratulations. Well done. All right. Our meeting today. When I think of the meeting today, I hate starting off an evaluation on what I would call a critique, but this was a meeting that didn't start fantastically. We had a lot of last minute attendees with a lot of role changes and without clarity regarding who the assignment of the agenda roles were. We spent nearly the first 5 minutes of the meeting reiterating the agenda and who was going to fill those roles. The best way that I can think of to ensure that that doesn't happen in the future is to make sure that all roles are assigned well in advance of the meeting. And when there are last minute changes, as we did have some very last minute dropouts, that we make sure that we get committed replacements before the start of the meeting. We had a couple of dropouts last night. I get it. But then even more important that we show up that little bit early to these meetings so that we can make sure that if there are last minute changes, that they're addressed well ahead of the start meeting. So if we know we have gaps in the agenda because of last minute cancellations, even more important for those key stakeholders, the Sergeant at Arms, who was on the meeting bright and early, a full half hour in advance of the meeting, but the rest of those key stakeholders, especially the club executive leadership, we need to make sure that we're in our meeting and addressing any gaps in the agenda 15 minutes before the start of the meeting, not at the start of the meeting. So that would be my number one critique, is when we get off to a rocky start, it sometimes can set the tone for the rest of the meeting. Fortunately, Bud, you did an exceptional job once the meeting got rolling of really reiterating to us what the theme was of the meeting was, and set the tone. And you did an exemplary job throughout the meeting of course correction. It just would have been better for us to have that handled well before the meeting start time. On that note, one thing that I did note is that we did not update to Easy Speak. Not only did we not have some roles assigned correctly in Easy Speak, we also did not update the meeting theme nor the word of the day in the Easy Speak agenda, both of which can be updated in the agenda. And I would encourage that we always make sure that the agenda is updated so that everyone has that awareness before meeting starts, so that we can address it appropriately throughout the course of the meeting. I thought we had a great toast to help remind us of our theme, though, and Peggy, you did an exemplary job. Our timer was very effective throughout the meeting. One thing that I would recommend, I know that you were using virtual background, and most time you were using a black background as your static when you weren't displaying green, red, or green, yellow, or red. Maybe just something other than the plain black camera off background, maybe an alternative virtual background, just so that we know that you're there. And because the plain black may actually give the appearance that you're not in attendance or that you've stepped away. So something to indicate that you're still an active participant in the meeting, even when you're not actively timing, I think would be the only suggestion, because you did an exemplary job of managing the timing throughout the meeting and keeping us back on track. So well done today, Mary Lou. As for our evaluators today, we had 3 fantastic evaluations, really. And I want to address each one of our evaluators specifically. Ray, love the new background. Your standing approach is fantastic. The examples that you provided were specific on how the head movements were appropriate and helpful, as well as the examples for the suggestion of pauses. The one thing that I would have wanted to see from you in your evaluation, and a minor suggestion, is the reliance or dependence on notes. I get you a lot of the times when doing evaluations that we need to refer to our notes, but we still need to find a way to try to maintain that eye contact as much as possible. And I found that there was too much referring to notes versus eye contact with your audience in this one. The other thing that would have made this evaluation just that much better was a real challenge for the speaker and some sort of deeper insight as to what Fursey could have brought to his speech delivery or the structure of the speech that really could have challenged him to make it even more impactful. It was a great speech, and I understand that when you're evaluating a great speaker like Fursey, sometimes identifying those big challenges can be difficult, but that was the one thing that was lacking, I thought, that could have improved. The delivery of itself, your pacing, and when you did provide examples, very specific and on point. Well done. Sandy, your camera setup is exemplary. You're perfectly framed in your camera. Your lighting is really, really good. I'm still trying to figure out how to get my lighting as good as you have it. And what that does is it really creates a wonderful on-camera presence, and your ability to maintain eye contact while still occasionally referring to notes, especially when you were addressing specific quotations from the speaker's speech, was really well done. And you did a great job of maintaining eye contact throughout while delivering your evaluation. And your positive takeaways that you provided were very specific, including those quotations like a taste of adulthood or a dip. And you did a really good job of providing specific examples which the speaker was able to draw away from. I thought the only critique, although you did address the camera movement, again, similarly, that big wow, how could Marianna really stretch herself to make herself an even better, turn that into a better speech, I thought could have been added to the evaluation, but otherwise it was an exemplary, well done and well delivered evaluation. And Vinod, your camera work also exceptional. You have yourself framed properly. You're addressing the camera very, very well. Good background, good camera angle, good lighting. Your suggestions, very specific, and you provided both content and delivery examples that could help Ron make his speech better. It was a very effective evaluation. My only suggestion would be to work on your pacing. I found your evaluation to be slightly rushed and lacking the effective pauses, especially when you were trying to make those big salient points about what Ron could do to improve his speech. So just as important when delivering a speech, that we need to work on our pacing and to effectively use pause to exemplify a point. We need to make sure that that same pacing and pause use is delivered in our evaluations if we want to have maximum impact and value from our evaluations. But exceptionally well done. The actual content of the evaluation was spot on and brilliant. Well done, sir. On that note, guys, I thought, you know, given the rocky start, we were able to get ourselves back on track. We did a good job. The key is we need to get that agenda sorted out well in advance. Next Saturday's meeting is nearly a blank slate. So I encourage all of our members, and we will encourage all of our members to do so. Go in now, confirm your attendance, and sign up for the roles. This is a club about self-directed leadership. So please, please, please take that self-directed leadership and challenge yourself to take on a role today. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Brent. I've got my gavel back. For those who don't realize why I do that, the gavel is in Toastmasters a symbol of the person who is got the microphone, so to speak. And we don't in Toastmasters have a lot of babble going on in a meeting. We do have chats going on, but for the most part, we have a quietly, respectfully waiting for people to finish their presentation. Before I wrap up the meeting, I have a little bit of business I want to attend to. And that is, first of all, to ask for our guests to give us any comments that they would choose to on how they felt about the meeting. And let's start with Peter, because I think we finished with him last time.
Start and finish. Thank you very much for inviting me to your meeting. I enjoyed it. It was stimulating, enlightening, and instructive. I appreciate the speakers, the evaluations. And like I said, it gives me a comparison to what we are doing at the club that I belong to here in Grand Rapids. And one of the things, of course, that I want to sympathize or empathize or some size with you guys is that the filling the roles. We seem to have a problem doing that, especially with Zoom. In the past, I didn't think we had that much of a problem. And I think that with Zoom, that has become exacerbated. So I guess the leaders of this organization need to crack the whip a little bit and make us followers do what we are supposed to do.
Thank you, Peter. Nazim, do you have any comments to share?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and for the opportunity. First of all, like I said, and I keep on repeating it, that the evaluation portion of the meeting is exemplary. Today is a great example of how Brent took the meeting very tough, because this seemed to be, like Peter just said, we have a chronic situation in cloud because of the Zoom meeting and starting up and getting people enrolled. So it is prevalent in my club. I spoke to it this week, but I have learned so much, especially from Vinod's evaluation today. He was like a surgeon with the laser focus and just pinpointing exactly what we are supposed to do and how we are supposed to improve. So I truly appreciate what you guys are doing, what the club is doing, not you guys, sorry, what the club is doing. And I'm learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazim. I'm trying to see, I don't think Yvonne is still in the meeting, is she? Or
there's no other guests.
Okay, I don't see her. Okay, I have one other piece of business that I would like to attend to. I'm going to ask somebody right now to volunteer to be the Toastmaster for next week's meeting.
That's the way you do it.
I
Who
can
would
be
that?
the Toastmaster of the day.
I'm sorry, who spoke up?
Vinod.
Vinod, okay, fantastic. And just to round it out a little bit, because the way I believe a meeting should be organized is that the Toastmaster should take responsibility for seeing to it that the speakers are all connected to evaluators. But I think it's a great idea for the general evaluator to be up on top right away as well, because the general evaluator is responsible for making sure the evaluators are there, making sure there's a grammarian and a timer. And I think that's a better way to work it. It spreads the responsibility out a bit and makes sure that nobody has a panic attack like I did this morning when I got 3 emails declining roles. So can I have someone choose to be general evaluator next week? Silence. I could volunteer. Oh, Sandy, welcome. Fantastic. Oh, you're muted, Sandy. I can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're muted.
I've already signed up for the Sergeant at Arms.
Okay, fair enough. Then we need someone else.
I'll be general evaluator, but I acted and I already signed up for an evaluator role like 5 seconds ago. How do I undo that?
I'll take care of that. I'll move you into general evaluator. Thank you very much. Okay, the rest of the roles, as Brent said, go online, guys, sign up. Try to do it as soon as you leave this meeting. Say, go to Easy Speak and say, okay, what can I take? What can I do? And at the very least, go on Easy Speak and say whether or not you're going to be at the next meeting. Okay, because this really helps us have better organized meetings that start off with a bang instead of a whimper, and we'll get things rolling. Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap up with just
Sharon has her hand up.
Oh, Sharon, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I have 2 comments I'd like to suggest. One is that between speeches, we actually have a minute of silence so that people do put in evaluations. That's where we grow. And I saw in chat that Ron said he had 1 written evaluation. So for us to grow as members and as speakers and leaders, it's really important for us to put something in the chat. And for me, I find it a little hard to be thinking and typing when I'm hearing voices talking. So if we could have 1 minute of silence between speakers, I think that would really help. I also think that for the roles, if it's the GE now who is looking after the other roles, perhaps we can just send out a quick email telling who we are to contact, because I actually put in 3 emails in the last week for my role as grammarian. So I would like to know who I'm supposed to contact and how to approach it in this club. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, that was my bad. I did not update the information you sent to me, and I apologize for that. My last comment today is not about any of the roles and filling of roles and everything like that. It is simply this. I made the theme today, Spring has Sprung, because I feel hope lives eternal. And we've had such a rough 2 years that I'm looking forward to spring so much. But let's put a spring in our step in our Toastmasters meetings and make them as exciting as this one turned out to be. Everybody, have a great week. Take care.
Are we staying around to chit chat a bit?